This is the reality over theory news. I just want to talk about the election, the 2016 presidential election with Trump and Clinton. Now, Obama got on one of these news entities and said that if Trump was 10 or 15 points ahead of Hillary in the election and he lost the election, then he could see maybe there's an issue in reference to election fraud. What he fails to tell you in the rest of the mainstream media that are conspiring together, where two or more people come together to commit a crime, it's a conspiracy, and that's what they're doing. There's a concerted effort amongst just about every mainstream media to tamper with the election directly and indirectly. And the way they do it is they take a sample of it's supposed to be a random sample, at least like 1,500 people. So some of them a little less, some of them a little more, but that's the minimum for a scientific poll. To do a proper poll, you're supposed to have about 1,500 people. It's supposed to be a random sampling, and it's supposed to be, you're not supposed to have an oversampling. If you took 60% of the Democrats and 40% Republicans, and you're doing a study, the results are not going to reflect the society as a whole. So what you need to do is you need to have the sample population be randomly sampled and reasonably reflective of the society, both the media entities and phony front organizations and polling organizations are doing it, are taking 60% Democrats and maybe 40% Republicans in their sample population. Unscientific studies, knowingly, willingly, intentionally. And then what happened is the media, the mainstream media, is taking these unscientific studies, and they're saying, well, according to this poll, such and such, Trump is behind and Hillary's ahead by this many points. Oh, she's very far ahead, blah, 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 blah. And they go on. And then once they use the poll now as the basis to show why Trump is losing, then they forget about the poll. Now they continue to go on as if they have an authority because they're relying on the poll. Then they say, well, this is why Trump's going to lose because Trump is not there for women, and they make up all these excuses. Now the reason why it seems plausible is because the masses don't look to the polling results, and not just to the polling results, the information that was used to determine the outcome of their results. And also, they don't talk about the margin of error in all. And the media using this blatantly. They're using this knowing that it's a lie, because the other polls that are more accurate, Trump is ahead about 10 or 15 points in some other polls as an average. He could win in a landslide, but with all this election fraud, he may lose. He could win the popular vote in a landslide, meaning the legitimate popular vote. But if they get illegal aliens in, unauthorized voters, unregistered voters that are not authorized to be voting, or they rig the ballot box through the software, they could get the outcome they want. And that's why Obama said that if it's 10, 15% Trump is ahead and he loses, then I can understand there's a possibility of voter fraud or whatever, something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing it. But the reason why he said that is he knows him with the DNC and the rest of the political, the politicians, even in the Republican Party, are working together to rig the polls. And when they rig the outcome, if everybody sees that Hillary's ahead, or they're neck and neck, and all of a sudden Hillary wins the election, there's not going to be much of an uprising, enough anger, because the majority of people are going to be convinced, okay, she must have won it because the popular vote, the people voted for her, not realizing that the election was rigged in many, many ways, through the ballot boxes, through the absentee ballots, through voting early and often, multiple ways that they rigged it. And so it looks like it's a plausible denial. I mean, it's plausible, and then later on they could deny it. They could say, "Well, look, Hillary won the popular vote," and they could deny it later on. If somebody would dig in depth about the election fraud, and then they could say, "Well, no, she was ahead in the polls, way ahead." Da, da, da. So this means that there's no reason to be suspicious about the results, even if there was a little election fraud. Small amounts of fraud, it doesn't really rise to the level. They aren't impounding the machines and doing a recount and whatever else. And the reason why is the Republicans, the Democrats, the whole entire money interest, the whole entire system, just about the whole system, which is the corrupt people, are working against Trump. Most of these politicians, many of them in high places in the Senate and the Congress, are involved. Not all of them, but a lot of them are involved in pedophile sex rings with little boys, little girls, satanic worshiping, devil worshiping, uh, uh, spirit worship, evil spirit worshiping, anything you could imagine. And there's a lot of blackmail. They got videos and photos of them engaging in sexual relations with underage boys and girls, and they photograph them, and they got them all blackmailed, the politicians, the majority of them. And this is why you'll take a conservative party member that's against homosexuality, and he's very conservative, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's for homosexuals, gay rights. And then, or you'll take a liberal that's for homosexuals or gay rights, and then all of a sudden he'll go the opposite way and say, "Oh no, we're against them." It depends on the blackmailer, what policies and procedures they want this politician that they're blackmailing to implement to go along with cast a vote. And this is the way the whole system is working. And this is why all the information is coming out about Hillary Clinton and the State Department. This is just the way the government works, and this is the training that the people have, and this is why the people don't see it. The media is covering for them all. The media has been doing it for many years, and that's just the result of the out. The media is trying to manipulate the outcome by bashing Trump and not be equally harsh on Hillary. And the reason why is a lot of these people in the media are so hooked in with the government that they're one and the same. Some of them are even CIA operatives inside the media, and they're embedded in the media. Some of the government agencies, FBI and various other agencies, CIA and other agencies, had media that were FBI agents or CIA or other federal agencies or other agencies. They were so embedded, or they were so beholden to these entities because they paid them off or whatever else, that they're one and the same. So you got to be very wary about what you hear, what you see, because it may not be true, it may be a lie. And it's the same principle. If you're taught to believe that right is wrong or red is blue, if you're trained to believe red is blue, when somebody asks you the color of red, what is that on the wall, what color? You're going to come to an improper conclusion that is blue. Because of your training, your perception has been improperly trained. You have a faulty perception in that area. If you were trained right to believe red is red and blue is blue, even though you have the same capacity to sense with your five senses as anybody else, you're going to still come to a wrong conclusion because you've been mistrained. And this is what our school system is, the educational system, from the public school system to college to anywhere else. Much of it, or just about all of it, is an indoctrination. Yes, you may learn some truths and all that are applicable, that are real, but most of what you learn is you learn untruths that create a perception that is not reflective of reality. What it becomes is a synthetic reality, a pseudo reality. So if you're taught to believe that red is blue, then that's going to be a conclusion. Every time you see red, you're going to say it means it's blue, because you've been taught or trained uh, into a synthetic reality. The objective is to know the truth for what it is, not to believe, not to believe what you want, not to believe lies, but to know the truth for what it is. Okay, this is Beyond Reality Over Theory News. Take care.